What if I told you that the most feared wrestler in history is actually the most likable guy in the locker room? Yeah, we're talking about a guy who never broke character for 30 years, went through 17 surgeries just to make sure every match was perfect. So how exactly did a wrestler with an awful career start become the most respected WWE star ever? Well, let's hold on a second. To understand The Undertaker, let's take it back to March 24th, 1965, when Mark William Calaway was born in the sprawling city of Houston, Texas. He was the youngest of 5 boys in the family. Already towering at 6'10" in high school, Mark dominated both basketball and football at Waltrip High. His height and talent earned him basketball scholarships, first to Angelina College, then to Texas Wesleyan University, where he starred for the Rams in 1985-86. Everyone expected him to keep playing basketball after college, but instead, wrestling called. He'd loved it since he was a kid, and in late 1986, he started training under veteran wrestler Buzz Sawyer. His first break came with World-Class Championship Wrestling, where he donned a mask and adopted the persona of Texas Red. His first match was a loss against the legendary Bruiser Brody with Percy Pringle, who'd later play a huge role in his career as his manager. Mark moved on to the Continental Wrestling Association, where Dutch Mantle took him under his wing. There, he tried out different characters like the Master of Pain and the Punisher. Success came quickly. As Master of Pain, he beat Jerry Lawler for the USWA World title. And as the Punisher, he won the WCWA Texas title from Eric Embry. Though new to wrestling, Mark carried himself like a pro and earned everyone's respect, quickly becoming known as someone you could count on in the ring. His growing reputation opened doors at World Championship Wrestling in 1990, where he emerged as Mean Mark Callis, embracing a darker, more mysterious persona. The character, as described by legendary announcer Jim Ross, was portrayed as an enigmatic figure with an affinity for Ozzy Osbourne's music and exotic snakes. This new direction led to a partnership with Dan Spivey, forming the imposing tag team known as the Skyscrapers. The duo quickly made their mark, particularly through their memorable feud with the legendary Road Warriors. However, his WCW journey took an unexpected turn when Ole Anderson, the promotion's lead booker, told him he'd never draw a dime in the wrestling business. Boy, was he wrong. Instead of giving up, Mark kept working while quietly planning his exit. During this time, he got a small part in Hulk Hogan's movie, Suburban Commando. This turned out to be huge. Hogan saw his potential and started pushing for WWE to sign him. When his WCW contract ended, he met with Vince McMahon. Surprisingly, the WWF chairman initially showed little enthusiasm for the future superstar. However, this skepticism quickly dissolved as McMahon got to know the performer, leading to a contract offer and the development of what would become one of wrestling's most iconic characters. The result was The Undertaker, a mysterious mortician from Death Valley who couldn't feel pain and put his beaten opponents in body bags. Now, it might seem obvious The Undertaker would work, but back then, most weird wrestling characters failed badly. What made this different was how completely he committed to the role. He tested it out at smaller shows as Kane the Undertaker before his big debut at Survivor Series on November 22nd. Walking out with Brother Love to that creepy music, he made an instant impact, destroying Coco Beware with his tombstone piledriver, then taking out Dusty Rhodes too. He dominated everyone in his path, scaring fans every time he showed up. Brother Love didn't last long as his manager. Instead, he reunited with Percy Pringle, who now played the creepy Paul Bearer. Bearer carried a mysterious urn that seemed to give The Undertaker his supernatural powers. The following spring brought WrestleMania on March 24, 1991, where he would initiate what would become a legendary streak by defeating Superfly Jimmy Snuka with his devastating tombstone finisher. Next came a big feud with Ultimate Warrior, which ended early when Warrior left WWE. But nothing could slow the dead man down. Even though he was supposed to be a bad guy, fans were starting to cheer for him. They couldn't help but be impressed. In a huge moment at the 1991 Survivor Series, he shocked everyone by beating Hulk Hogan for the WWE Championship. Though he lost the title days later because Ric Flair interfered, just beating Hogan showed how much WWE believed in their new star. The next year got even better. At WrestleMania 8, he kept his perfect record going by beating Jake the Snake Roberts so badly that Jake left WWE for 4 years. This feud turned the dead man into a good guy for the first time, and fans loved it. But things weren't all perfect. For a while, WWE kept putting him against really big guys who couldn't really wrestle well. Since his character had to act almost robot-like and not show pain, these matches weren't very exciting. He fought people like Kamala and Giant Gonzalez, barely beating Gonzalez by disqualification at WrestleMania 9 in 1993. It wasn't his best time, but he kept winning anyway. Things got better when he started fighting Yokozuna, leading to an exciting casket match at the 1994 Royal Rumble. Though he lost, the match ended with him mysteriously floating up to the heavens, a clever way to give him time off to heal his bad back. This meant missing WrestleMania for the first time, and he didn't return until SummerSlam. When he came back, he had to deal with a weird storyline where Ted DiBiase hired a fake Undertaker, played by Mark's friend Brian Lee. Behind the scenes, things were getting interesting too. While The Clique, a group consisting of Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and Sean Waltman had a lot of power backstage, The Undertaker formed his own group called the Bone Street Crew. This included wrestlers like Yokozuna, Savio Vega, Charles Wright, the Godwins, and Rikishi. By this point, The Undertaker was so respected that even the Clique didn't mess with him. He became the judge of Wrestler's Court, a way wrestlers would solve their problems backstage when someone broke the unwritten rules. Outside the ring, Mark was starting a family, marrying his first wife Jody Lynn and welcoming their son Gunnar. Meanwhile, his character was evolving from a spooky Undertaker into something more powerful, a gothic figure who could control lightning and manipulate the arena's lights with just a wave of his hands. This new version of the character helped him continue his success. At WrestleMania 11 in April 1995, he beat King Kong Bundy, adding another win to his streak. Shortly after, he had to wear a protective mask because of an injured eye socket, but kept wrestling through his ongoing feud with Ted DiBiase's group. By late '95, he moved back into main events, facing off against Diesel at WrestleMania 12, where he made it 5-0 at the Big Show. But the next night changed everything when Mankind debuted. Unlike anyone before him, Mankind actually got the upper hand against The Undertaker multiple times. Their rivalry led to a brutal boiler room brawl at SummerSlam 1996, where Mankind not only won the match but also convinced Paul Bearer to turn against The Undertaker. It was the first time the dead man seemed truly vulnerable. The rivalry reached new heights at In Your House, Buried Alive in October 1996, where they fought in the first ever Buried Alive match. Though he ended up buried that night, true to his character, the dead man wouldn't stay down. He returned at Survivor Series just weeks later, now looking more demonic than ever as the Lord of Darkness. After finally beating Mankind, he set his sights on bigger goals in early 1997. Following some controversy at that year's Royal Rumble, he earned a shot at the WWE Championship against Psycho Sid at WrestleMania 13. That night, he both won his second WWE title and extended his WrestleMania streak to 6-0. Then came what would become his most memorable storyline yet. Paul Bearer returned, wanting to manage the new champion. When The Undertaker refused, Bearer threatened to reveal a dark secret from his past if he didn't agree. This blackmail would lead to one of WWE's biggest stories ever. The champion reluctantly let Bearer back into his life, but eventually couldn't take the manipulation anymore and refused to work with him. That's when Bearer dropped the bombshell. The Undertaker had a brother named Kane, who was still alive and wanted revenge. It was classic WWE drama at its finest. For months, Bearer kept warning everyone that Kane was coming, revealing that The Undertaker had started a fire years ago that killed their parents and severely burned Kane. While this story played out in the background, the dead man kept defending his WWE title through spring and summer. The pressure finally got to him, though, and he lost the belt to Bret Hart at SummerSlam 1997. Things got even worse when he started a bitter feud with Shawn Michaels, leading to the first ever Hell in a Cell match at In Your House Bad Blood that October. The match would go down as one of WWE's greatest ever, showing everyone that Mark Calaway could really wrestle when given the chance. But just when it seemed The Undertaker would win, Kane finally appeared and cost his brother the victory. Kane's return haunted The Undertaker as his brother and pallbearer kept demanding a match. But The Undertaker refused to fight his own flesh and blood, so Kane took out his anger on other wrestlers instead, destroying both Mankind and Vader. For a moment, it seemed like the brothers might actually reconcile. When DX was making The Undertaker's life miserable, Kane showed up to help him, and everyone thought the family drama was finally over. But it was all a trap. At the Royal Rumble during The Undertaker's casket match against Shawn Michaels, Kane turned on his brother. He not only cost him the match, but trapped him in the casket and set it on fire. Of course, being The Undertaker, he somehow survived. After disappearing for a few weeks, he returned right before WrestleMania 14 with a message. He'd finally face his brother at WWE's biggest show. At WrestleMania, The Undertaker faced his toughest challenge yet in Kane, but still won after hitting 3 tombstone piledrivers, making his streak 7-0. Their feud wasn't over, though. Next month, they met in WWE's first-ever Inferno match, which The Undertaker also won. While Kane moved on to chase Steve Austin's WWE title, The Undertaker renewed his rivalry with Mankind. This led to one of wrestling's most shocking moments ever at King of the Ring. During their Hell in a Cell match, they started on top of the cage, and The Undertaker threw Mankind off, sending him crashing through an announce table 16 feet below. The chaos continued when he later choke-slammed Mankind through the cage itself. After that, he set his sights on champion Steve Austin. Things got interesting when they were forced to become tag team champions together while building to their title match. By SummerSlam on August 30th, any teamwork was gone as they fought for the belt. Leading up to the match, it seemed The Undertaker had finally made peace with Kane. Though Kane didn't get involved and Austin won the match, it soon became clear afterward that the brothers had truly reunited. By October, everything changed again. The Undertaker turned on Kane, reunited with pallbearer, and finally admitted he'd killed their parents. His character transformed into a dark priest who sat on an evil throne, leading a group called the Ministry of Darkness. This sinister crew included the Acolytes, the Brood, Midian, Viscera, and the Big Show. The Ministry storyline really heated up in 1999 when The Undertaker set his sights on Vince McMahon himself. In a story that mixed reality and fiction, he tried to take over WWE, while Vince accused him of losing himself in his character. The war got intense, with the dead man terrorizing the entire McMahon family. Things got even darker when he hanged the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15 during a Hell in a Cell match, which made his streak 8-0, though fans try to forget this one. Then he tried to force Stephanie McMahon into marriage during a creepy ceremony on Raw that April. He claimed a mysterious higher power was behind it all, pulling the Ministry's strings from the shadows. Stone Cold stopped the wedding, which led to another title match between them at Over the Edge. The Undertaker won his 3rd WWE Championship that night. 2 weeks later came the big reveal. Vince McMahon was the mysterious higher power all along. Even today, fans consider this one of WWE's worst plot twists ever. His title reign didn't last long, though. On June 28th's Raw, in what became WWE's highest-rated segment ever at that time, Stone Cold won the belt back. The Ministry fell apart after that, and The Undertaker started teaming with Big Show, taking the younger wrestler under his wing. They even won the tag team titles twice together. During this time, The Undertaker started looking less like a dark priest and more like his real-life self. Kevin Nash claimed this change happened because The Undertaker was planning to jump to WCW, though that seems unlikely given both WCW's struggles and The Undertaker's loyalty to WWE. Whatever the real reason, he took some time off in September 1999 to heal a groin injury and marry his second wife, Sarah. When he returned at Judgment Day in May 2000, fans saw a completely different Undertaker, the American Badass. The dead man was gone, replaced by a tough-talking biker who rode to the ring on a Harley-Davidson wearing denim and leather. Kid Rock's American Badass, later Limp Bizkit's Rollin', became his entrance music. Though it was a huge change, fans quickly embraced this new version of The Undertaker, breathing fresh life into a character that should have gotten stale years ago. This new style made him even more dominant. After a quick feud with Kane, they reunited as the Brothers of Destruction. On his own, freed from his old character's limitations, he was finally having great matches with stars like Kurt Angle, The Rock, and Triple H. His feud with Triple H led to what many consider his best WrestleMania match yet, making his streak 9-0 at WrestleMania 17. Surprisingly, it was around this time that someone backstage first noticed he'd never lost at WrestleMania. While the streak seems planned now, those first 9 wins were just luck. Before his next WrestleMania chance, he stayed busy. He and Kane won the tag team titles on the April 19th SmackDown and feuded with Steve Austin and Triple H's two-man power trip. Then came the WCW Invasion, a storyline that would disappoint pretty much everyone. During the Invasion, he had forgettable feuds with Diamond Dallas Page, who they made look weak, and Chronic, leading to one of wrestling's worst tag matches. The bright spot was winning the WCW tag team titles with Kane and helping WWE win at Survivor Series that November. Outside the ring, he and his wife Sarah welcomed 2 daughters, Chasey and Gracie. Meanwhile, after the Invasion ended, he surprised everyone by turning bad guy again. Now calling himself Big Evil, he basically played up being the toughest guy in WWE and dared anyone to test him. At the 2002 Royal Rumble, rookie Maven shocked everyone by eliminating him. Instead of burying the newcomer, The Undertaker used this to help make Maven look good, showing why he was so respected backstage. His kindness to younger talent paid off when he got a dream match against Ric Flair at WrestleMania 18, where he made his streak 10-0. The first WWE draft sent him to Raw, where he quickly beat Hulk Hogan for the Undisputed Championship. As champion, he defended the belt on both shows and helped build up younger stars like Jeff Hardy. His reign ended at Vengeance in July when The Rock won a triple threat match that also included Kurt Angle. After losing the title, he moved to SmackDown and helped make Brock Lesnar look strong, putting on a great hell. In a cell match at No Mercy that October, where they never had to leave the cage. He took a break after that, returning in early 2003 to mentor newcomer Nathan Jones for what was planned as a WrestleMania 19 tag match against Big Show and A-Train. The plans changed when it became clear Jones wasn't ready for TV. Instead, The Undertaker fought alone at WrestleMania, beating both opponents to make his streak 11-0. But fans were getting restless. They wanted the dead man back instead of this biker character. He spent the rest of 2003 having solid matches with John Cena, Kurt Angle, and Brock Lesnar before losing to Vince McMahon in a Buried Alive match at Survivor Series that November. The loss gave him time to rethink his character and mourn his father's passing. When he returned at WrestleMania 20 in March 2004, fans got what they wanted. The dead man was back, but with a twist. This version kept some of his biker attitude, letting him keep putting on great matches. With Paul Bearer back by his side, he beat Kane for the second time at WrestleMania, making it 12-0. After WrestleMania, he kept Paul Bearer around while feuding with the Dudley Boys, JBL, and Randy Orton. The Orton rivalry would lead to WrestleMania 21, where the streak really became a major storyline. With Orton's legend killer character and rising star status, many fans actually thought he might end the streak. This match created the formula for future WrestleMania matches, intense near falls that kept fans guessing until the end. The Undertaker won again, making it 13-0. His matches were getting better too, thanks to his growing interest in MMA. He started using moves like the Gogoplata, adding a new layer of realism to his fights. 2005 saw him in a controversial feud with Muhammad Hassan that had to be cut short when a terrorist-themed segment aired on the same day as the London bombings. He went back to feuding with Orton after that, actually losing to him at both SummerSlam and No Mercy that fall. After disappearing for a month, he returned at Survivor Series wanting one more match with Orton, this time inside Hell in a cell. Leading up to this match, the supernatural side of his character came back strong. He started doing creepy things like possessing backstage interviewers to send messages to Orton. The mind games worked. He beat Orton at Hell in a Cell that December, ending their rivalry for good. Looking for new challenges, he faced Kurt Angle in early 2006. In a rare showing of respect, He actually tapped out to Angle's ankle lock. WrestleMania 22 was supposed to feature another match with Angle, who was planned to end the streak. Plans changed though, and while Angle went after the World Heavyweight title, The Undertaker faced Mark Henry in a quick casket match instead, making it 14-0. Then came a rough patch, trying to get good matches out of the Great Khali. Even The Undertaker couldn't make that work. Despite having proven himself as a great wrestler, he had to power through these lackluster matches at Judgment Day and on SmackDown that August. Things improved when he started feuding with Mr. Kennedy. Their program ran through the rest of the year, featuring First Blood and ambulance matches. He even brought Kane back to team up against Kennedy and MVP. By 2007, he set his sights on his first Royal Rumble win. Entering at number 30, he found himself face-to-face with Shawn Michaels in the final two, their first encounter since the late 90s. After several close calls, he finally eliminated HBK to earn a shot at Batista's World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 23. The WrestleMania match delivered. After 16 intense minutes, he both kept his streak alive at 15-0 and won the World Heavyweight Championship. This started a golden period. For the next 6 years, his WrestleMania matches would consistently steal the show and build the streak's legend. His title reign lasted until May 11th, when Edge cashed in Money in the Bank and took the belt. The loss allowed him to heal a bicep injury, keeping him off TV until September. He returned to face Mark Henry briefly, before jumping back into the title picture with Edge and Batista, fighting in both a Hell in a Cell match at Survivor Series and a triple threat at Armageddon, though he couldn't recapture the gold. Looking for another title shot, he entered the 2008 Royal Rumble, starting at number 1 against Shawn Michaels at number 2. This time, HBK got revenge, eliminating him. The Undertaker bounced back next month, winning an Elimination Chamber match against Batista, Finlay, Great Khali, MVP, and Big Daddy V to earn a WrestleMania match against Edge. At WrestleMania 24, he put on another classic, making Edge tap out after 24 minutes to win the World Heavyweight title and push his streak to 16-0. He defended against Edge at Backlash, but Vicky Guerrero's interference got the title vacated. Their feud continued through summer, ending at SummerSlam in Hell in a Cell when he chokeslammed Edge from a ladder through the ring. He moved on to feuds with Big Show and Jeff Hardy until Shawn Michaels made a challenge. HBK believed he could end the streak. Their WrestleMania 25 match was billed as Heaven vs. Hell. Michaels, the born-again Christian in white descending from above, against the demonic Undertaker rising from below. What followed is considered by many the greatest match ever. After 30 intense minutes, the Dead Man made it 17-0. He took 4 months off after this career peak, returning to chase CM Punk's World Heavyweight title. He won it inside Hell in a Cell that October, holding it until the next February's Elimination Chamber. That night started badly when Pyro accidentally burned his chest and face. It ended worse when Shawn Michaels interfered, helping Chris Jericho take his title. HBK was obsessed with getting another shot after his loss. After failing to win the Royal Rumble, he cost Undertaker the title to force a rematch. The Undertaker agreed, but with one condition: if Michaels lost at WrestleMania 26, he had to retire. Their streak versus career match headlined WrestleMania. Some fans thought it even topped their first match, but either way, after 24 minutes, HBK's career ended as the streak reached 18-0. The Undertaker took time off to heal his aging body, returning to feud with Kane over the World Heavyweight title. Knowing his career was winding down, he put Kane over strong, losing 3 straight pay-per-view matches before taking more time off for rotator cuff surgery. He made it back for WrestleMania 27, where Triple H challenged him to avenge Shawn Michaels. Though he won to make it 19-0, the match told a new story. The Dead Man barely survived, needing help to leave while Triple H walked out on his own. This led to their WrestleMania 28 rematch, dubbed the End of an Era. After not wrestling for a full year, The Undertaker would face Triple H in Hell in a Cell with HBK as referee. The story was clear. Keeping the streak alive was getting harder with age. For over 30 minutes, they told an incredible story. Everyone believed the streak might end when Undertaker barely kicked out of a Sweet Chin Music pedigree combo, but he survived to make it 20-0. The match was so perfect that Mick Foley begged him to retire right there, saying he'd never top it. He didn't listen. Though he had another good match beating CM Punk at WrestleMania 29 to reach 21-0, age was clearly catching up to him. After mostly staying away from the ring for a year, he returned at WrestleMania 30 to face Brock Lesnar. Nobody thought Lesnar would win. Surely the streak would end with a young star getting the spotlight. That's why the arena fell silent when Brock hit his third F5 and got the pin. After 24 years, the streak was over. Like wrestling's Red Wedding, it proved the dead man was mortal after all. Brock used the win to become WWE's final boss, a role he still holds today. But The Undertaker wasn't done. He returned at WrestleMania 31 to beat Bray Wyatt, then had a surprisingly good Hell in a Cell match with Lesnar that summer. By WrestleMania 32, though, when he fought Shane McMahon in a disappointing match, it was clear his best days were behind him. Everyone could see he needed to retire, but out of respect, nobody would tell him. By then, Mark Calaway knew he'd missed his perfect exit and became obsessed with finding one last great match. His body wasn't cooperating, though. At WrestleMania 33, his match with Roman Reigns was rough to watch. His bad hips made it clear he shouldn't have been wrestling. The next year's match with John Cena only went 3 minutes because of his limitations. He tried getting back in shape for matches in Saudi Arabia, but these turned out even worse, especially his bout with Goldberg and a tag match with Kane against DX. He had a decent showing teaming with Roman Reigns against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre at Extreme Rules 2019, but it still wasn't the send-off he wanted. Finally, at WrestleMania 36, he got his perfect ending against AJ Styles. The pandemic forced them to get creative with the Boneyard match, which cleverly worked around his physical limits while celebrating all his characters: the Dead Man, American Badass, and Mark Calaway himself. After winning and making his WrestleMania record 25-2, he seemed ready to retire. Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, John Cena, Roman Reigns. The faces of WWE changed, but they all had to step into the dead man's domain. Each generation's top star learned the same hard truth. They might have ruled WWE for a time, but they were always walking in The Undertaker's yard. And that yard, sacred ground built on 4 decades of darkness, respect, and legend, will forever belong to him and him alone.